Welcome to Fearless Females, where ambition meets resilience. Meet your guide, Lorie Jones, owner of Fearless Financial Advisors. Join her and remarkable women executives as they uncover the triumphs and transformative moments shaping extraordinary careers. Ready to be fearless? Let the journey begin.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us again on Fearless Females. Big shout out to our sponsor, Fearless Financial Advisors. I've been writing a lot, and I put a bunch of thoughts, musings, informational stuff on the website. So if you're interested, go over and check it out. I kind of like my blog. Sometimes I think it's sort of funny. So let me know what you think. And if you don't like it, tell me that too, so I can fix. So today we're talking with Jennifer Rayner. And I have known Jennifer for like a year and a half, 2 years. And the thing that first attracted me to her and made me just love her to a 10 is the fact that she could describe finance using no words and little stick figure characters. She made finance a little bit fun, and she has this big, huge idea to get people engaged in thinking about ways that they could make their financial future better by just telling them, hey, you're okay, or hey, it's okay to be scared of finance, or this is sometimes a big scary thing. And I loved that she was willing to do that. So the thing that I liked most about my conversation with Jennifer is how like downright real she is. She says, I asked her, I said, well, what scares you the most? And she says, it still scares me. She's like, I guess that's why they call it imposter syndrome. It scares me still to this day that no matter how much confidence I have, that somebody is going to like tap me on the shoulder and be like, hey, you don't belong here. And I so relate to that. I can feel it to my very bones, where with all the credentials, all the learning, all the experience that I've had in this industry of finance, I'm still scared somebody's going to say, hey, I'm not sure you belong here. Maybe you're in the wrong room. So I think that you guys will just absolutely love Jennifer's enthusiasm, her spirit, her heart, and her authenticity. So let's get started. I am so excited for you to join us today. We are here with Jennifer Rayner. She is the founder of Moniwell. And I ran into Jennifer over a year ago, I think maybe over 2 years ago, when she was just starting up and starting the company. And I love all that she does. I love who she is. And I'm so excited for you to hear her story. So thank you so much, Jennifer, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So my first question is always my favorite. I'm a reader. I love any and all suggestions. What's your favorite book?
Oh, goodness. I don't know that I have a favorite book. I have ADHD, so it's really hard for me. I was just talking to somebody this morning. It's like, I'm one of those people that'll pick up a book, and if you can't get me in the first chapter, moving on. I have a ton of those. So I don't know that I have a favorite book. I think I pick them up when I can or I have time, and I tend to listen a lot, but yeah, I don't even
audiobooks or podcasts.
Yeah, audiobooks. When I'm hiking, I'll listen. If I can get into a book, I'll listen. It's more like authors that kind of take me off into some other place. So I don't know that there's anything that I think to myself, you should read this. There's Netflix shows.
Oh, that's a good one. So what is your favorite Netflix show?
So one of the most recent ones is Love on the Spectrum.
Oh, I've heard of that.
It is an amazing show that just feels uplifting. I laugh, I cry. Somebody told me, gosh, that show, like, I feel like maybe they're making fun of people on the spectrum. I'm like, no, it's just so raw and real how they experience love and life. And oh my gosh, I love it. So when they come out with a new season, I binge it immediately. I have one in Australia and one in the US. So yes, that is my favorite show to binge.
I love that. Yeah, it's almost like you have to clear your calendar for the weekend. You're like, oh, it's coming out. I got to clear everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me about your journey, how you got started, where you're at today, what you do. Like, tell me a little bit about you, Jennifer.
Sure, sure. So I always like to go. I actually I founded Moniwell in 2020, but that was after a pretty long career in the financial services industry, which I still do have a career in the financial services industry. I'm a retirement plan advisor, but I like to tell the story. The part where I kind of fell into it, it was a completely accident. I started as a journalism major at the University of Texas a long, long, long time ago, and moved out to San Diego on a whim and needed a job and went to a temp agency. And the next thing you know, I was an executive assistant for a financial advisor. And that just sort of spun into 20 plus years of working in this industry. And in 2020, kind of realized, it's COVID, I'm a little bored, and I should start thinking about what would I do, turning 50 as a sunset career. If I could do anything I wanted to do, what would it be? And that's when I sort of fell into this, what I call a rabbit hole of, I want to help people address the emotional side of money. And how can we do that at scale? How can we bring that to lots of people instead of maybe a one-on-one like you would as a coach? And that's how Moniwell was born. So hopefully that gives you a kind of a brief overview of who I am and my journey.
Yeah. So let's delve into Moniwell for just a minute, because I don't usually do this, but I love Moniwell. Like, I love your product. It speaks to my heart, because it kind of gets people ready to go on that money journey. It gets them in a place where they don't feel bad or shame or hard or like ick, and they feel good about taking control of their future, which is like my reason for being, is so that you can take control of your financial future. So tell our listeners just a little bit about what Moniwell is and what you do.
So Moniwell has evolved into a communication platform. So we bring trusted money journeys via text through employers to employees. So think in terms of, not everybody is ready, right? So we get a really low participation rate in financial wellness products and solutions that have been out there for decades. I was a financial advisor. I felt like that's missing. I can bring it, but nobody's using it. Why would I bring it, right? That was sort of the initial, maybe we're thinking about it wrong. How do we get people to use it? So it's a texted money journeys. Employers have this ability to text their employees. We just create all the content. And I realized in researching this idea that, hey, maybe if we help people feel better about their money, they might actually do better. Turns out there's science behind that. And it was that science that kind of spurred me on, that said, oh, there's science. How could our industry not know that? I need to figure out a way to scale that. And this is where we've ended up, which is basically we now have AI-driven journeys that are meeting people where they're at. And by that, we don't mean, do they have student loan debt? Do they have this problem or that problem? And meeting them with that exact solution, but meeting them emotionally, empathetic, just-in-time messaging that really just helps people feel more comfortable with the fact that that's okay. Money is emotional. It shows up in ways in our lives that can be almost traumatic sometimes. And that can be a block. We're not about being a therapist. But it turns out if you just provide empathetic messaging in a non-financial way, people start to engage. So that's what we deliver.
I see you. I hear you. I've been where you're at. I understand what you're going through. Here's some supportive ideas or messages to get you to a place where you might feel like looking at this money journey and taking control of your future. And darling little cute stick figures
we got rid of the stick figures, Lorie. The latest version has no stick figures, but it does have gifts and images that are non-financial now. We sort of... So just to let everybody know, I started with this, I bought this big library of stick figures because even when we did some of our initial course, like I built a course first that I realized nobody wants to learn about money or emotions via modules, right? But before I had created all these, and our big mantra, myself and this other person in public health that was helping me, was it's either going to be animals, children, what was it? Animals, children's, or mimes. Or no people, because when you represent ideas, with real people, it's inevitable that you're going to present somebody that culturally doesn't represent or emotionally doesn't jive with what you're feeling. And it's like it turns you off. You may not even know it. And I'm not saying you have to have the whole spectrum or colors or whatever of the rainbow. But what I'm saying is that you can do it in different ways that reflect how people. And so the reason we got rid of the stick figures, even though they were amazing, is that people digest information on social media via like GIFs and fun images. And so we just decided that's what we would use, is things that are emotive, attaboys, kind of whatever that happens to be an image. It just kind of grabs your attention and makes you want to read the text.
Well, I love it. So at the end of the episode, I'll ask for how people can get in touch with you. And I'm sure that you can put your information out there about Moniwell as well. So tell me, Jennifer, what is the best investment that you've made in yourself? As you look back over your professional journey, is there something you're like, oh my gosh, if I hadn't done this, I don't think I'd be where I'm at today?
That's a loaded question. It's bringing it back. If you can't tell, I'm completely immersed in Moniwell. So some of my answers are going to stem from this big idea I had where I just said, you know what, I'm doing it and I don't really care, that I'm going to put myself out there and say, I think I have something really big to bring to the world. So I would say the best investment I made in myself was letting myself go there, right? To say, I had stuck with a career for 20 something years because I had to take care of my family, right? But it still didn't speak to me the way I saw it speaking to other people in the industry. They really felt like yourself. You feel compelled to help people in that way. And I respect that. And I find that amazing. It just didn't speak to me because I didn't feel like I wanted to speak to that or even felt like I could because it just wasn't who I was, right? So it was this permission that I gave myself at 50 to say, just go with it and see where it goes, right? Just let yourself come up with the first parts of it and decide, I can just do this. Right? I can do this. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know where it might lead, but it's what your instincts. So I feel like one of the things that I have just overflowing out of me is really good gut instincts, but I always tamped those down, right? I always said, my instinct says this, but my reality says that. So just keep doing that. Right. And never really followed my gut. And ever since I allowed myself to do this, I've been following my gut. And sometimes that leads to good places. And sometimes it probably wasn't the best idea. And looking back on it in hindsight, there's tons of things I've done over the last 4 to 5 years that I probably shouldn't have followed my gut. Maybe big idea, my gut is still right. But wow, I've sent myself down a journey that I didn't know what I was doing, right? Not that I didn't know what I was doing as in I didn't understand how to make this happen. I didn't realize what I was going to sacrifice, right? If I had known that, to where I'm at now, probably would have kept doing the thing I did before. Don't listen to your gut, Jennifer, because it's all, that's just not what you should be doing. That could be bad. Right. So I had always tamped that down. And it was when I allowed myself to say, just go for it. Just stop listening to that. And for once in your life, stand up and say, I got this big idea and I can do it. Did I answer your question? I tend to go off the rails.
Yeah. Then do you feel like if you could go back and do it again, like you would still do it? You would still listen to that and say, this is a big thing. It's probably not going to pay off for 4 or 5 years. This is hard to do at age 50, but it's still my passion. It's what I'm doing.
That is an amazing question.
Yeah.
Ask me in another 3 years.
Okay. All right.
If you ask me right now, I'd be like, I probably have done like things that looking back would probably have impacted my financial life, have impacted, my future, my kids' future, they think it's like totally cool. Like, no, we're our own people. We can take care of ourselves. Don't worry about us. My poor husband is like, whatever. It's probably because he doesn't know what I've done. You know what I mean? So there's parts of it that I may have said, do it differently based on what I know now. But I think everything, I'm one of those people that thinks everything happens for a reason. And it's probably best I didn't know.
Yeah.
Because I'm in a position right now that I wouldn't have been in had I listened to that. If I had that, if you knew then what you know now, may have prevented me from getting some of the things that I currently have happening. I don't know if I would have had those had I listened to that. Doesn't mean I'm any better of a situation right now, but I may have rethought it. It isn't because I'm 50. It has nothing to do with being 50 or being tired or being whatever. I actually think this gives me reason for being. My kids, my mother had passed away at the end of 2019. My kids are now, launched, if you will, and we're in the beginnings of those stages. They're two boys, so they really didn't want to talk to me anyway, I don't think. They were at that age. And so anything to keep me busy and out of their stuff was probably a good thing in their minds. But I think I am very passionate about what I'm doing. So right, wrong, or will it end up being that was probably a really bad idea, but you tried kind of thing. I don't know, but I don't get to know right now. But I think I think I would have done it. I'm glad I didn't know. Let's just say that.
The journey's worth it, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that.
I think so. I hope so.
I'm crossing my fingers for you and sending all the good karma your way.
Thank you.
What is the worst advice? Have you ever really gotten any bad advice? And did you take it or did you not take it? What did you learn from it?
I wouldn't call it a piece of advice. I would say that I started in this industry. Gosh, I hope this person doesn't watch this podcast. Sue me for slander or whatever. I don't know. It's not slander if it's the truth. Oh, it's more how I perceived it, right? So I spent 20 years working for someone who some would say, well, he gave you everything. He gave you this career. He brought you in. He had you do these things. But there was always this sort of smartest guy in the room take on things. It was always you're going to need to do it this way or go do something else, right? Instead of, so the advice, it wasn't really, I guess it was advice. Go do it this way. This is how you will be successful. So for 20 years, I thought, well, you can't talk that way. You can't say those things. You can't be successful in this industry unless you do X. And I listened to that. And it kept me from maybe even becoming and doing more sooner because I was like, well, he's right. Everything I read, everything I see, he's right. He knows more than I do. When I was younger, I didn't even start in that until I was like 27, I think it was. So I kept on and I kept on. And somebody, a wise female in my life, said, when I told her, I was like, I feel like he kept me down. And she said, Jennifer, you chose to be there. You chose to keep doing that. You chose to, and I was like, okay, I'll own that. I'll own that for a hot second because you're right. But there's a part of me that wished I wish there were, I think we've had this conversation before. I wish there were more people out there that saw how somebody doesn't have to fit the mold and can still be successful in the financial industry. I think there's more of that going around. Like, you should be looking at people that think this way. But as I grew up in this industry, and even as recently as a few years back when I brought up the Moniwell idea, that's not the case. It's always filled with, this is how you do it. Here's exactly how you go about it. You do this, 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 and this. And if you don't fit that mold, you're not going to get hired. You're not going to nobody's going to buy your practice. I'm like, I don't have any aspirations for that. So I feel like I wish there was more room in this industry of being able to take someone like myself, because now, by the way, I'm really good at what I do. It's just I do it in a different way, right? Yeah. Not even Moniwell, but even in my retirement plan practice. But nobody said, here's a way you could do it, right? And I had to make that way myself. I had to say, this fits me. These people like what I do. They're willing to pay me to do it. And being able to stand up and say, oh, well, And of course, right when I figured that whole thing out, I was like, I'm going to start this other company.
That's when you
So
finally.
who knows if I would have gone out and been highly successful as a retirement plan advisor with a lot of other plans if I had just stuck with that, but I didn't. So here we are.
That is a really important idea too. And you're right, especially in this industry. This industry is traditionally male dominated. And a lot of industries, a lot of women that I've talked to are dealing with a traditionally male dominated industry, and they just do things differently than we do. It doesn't make it bad or good. It just isn't the same as we do it. I think that women, specifically in financial services, come at it with a more collaborative, kind of empathetic sort of point of view, more of a feelings and relationship building kind of place. And overall and overarching, I've seen men come at it with a return on investment kind of view. This is the way things are. Like you said, this is the way we do them. This is the way everybody does them. This is the way everybody we know does them. You can only do them this way.
Well, and I'll add one more thing, is that while I believe that's true with the male female part of it, but I think there are plenty of people, male and female, that still wouldn't, even males that don't fit the model, but still could bring something very powerful. And it's not just the person behind the scenes. It's not, they could actually be an advisor and not have to be that traditional role, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or not that traditional way of doing it. And I think that's what's truly missing. I don't even think it's a male female thing necessarily.
Yeah.
I think it's just we are overlooking as an industry being
Diversity.
able to transition from it has to be done this way to maybe there are other ways to do this. And I think that's probably why our industry struggles with, Gen Z and bringing on new people and and I'll go down another rabbit hole. My kids are Gen Z, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when I was like, they were in this phase, I was like, hey, maybe you want to take over. They were getting ready to launch, right? What are you going to do in college? What are you going to do? And I was like, why don't you take over the business? I could train you. I could da-da-da. And they were like, this was exactly what my youngest said. I don't want to help rich people get richer. I was like, is that what you think I do? And so that's what they see. That's what our industry portrays. It's about wealth. It's about making you wealthy. Well, I think a lot of this generation coming up could care less about being wealthy. They couldn't care less about being wealthy. They want to make a difference. And we can laugh all we want at them, but that's who they are. For whatever reason they were brought up, whatever it is. I don't even know what it is. I'm not even going to suggest what it might be. I think there are ways for people to come into this industry, but as long as our industry is putting off this, it's about wealth management. Most of them are going to be turned off. Many of them are going to be turned off of it, even though they could be someone that could make a difference in our industry.
That's so interesting and really insightful. I love that idea that, that there is a place for diversity, and diversity doesn't have to mean just gender or even race or anything like that, but diversity within the way that you do things and the way that you interact with this field. And that needs to change. I like that. That's cool.
Thank you.
What about regrets? If you go back and look at your journey and your situation, is there something, maybe not that you regret, but that you would do differently? If you knew then what you know now, would you change something and do it differently?
Yeah. I'll give you a very specific thing. I would have made my mother buy long-term care insurance. I know that sounds crazy, but my mother ended up with Alzheimer's, early onset Alzheimer's at 62. And we spent about a decade caring for her, built onto our house and cared for her. And it was not easy financially or otherwise. So that would be the one very specific thing I would have gone back and done differently. But as a overarching, what would I have done with my life? Probably would have been a social worker or a teacher.
Really?
Yeah.
I love that.
But again, I believe everything happens for a reason. So I truly believe that all the things that culminated into the accidents and all brought to this, maybe I was built to do something big, right? So that's the other thing that's really frustrating in the investor world, so we're raising capital, we're doing all of these things. And there's this unspoken, why is it taking you so long to get to here? Or you haven't had a company that you exited from, or this spotlight on how could you be this because, and I feel like there isn't enough that's layered on about how you got here and why. So like all of my life experiences as a 50-year-old woman actually give me, in my opinion, way more insight into this industry, into the problem we're solving, into how to survive things, because I've already done it, versus somebody who's a 20-year-old tech bro, right? So yeah, they might innately have it and have this great idea, but I don't think people give enough credit to my lived experiences, not only in this industry that I'm building a product for, but my ability to make this company successful. Wow, that's sometimes the things I say.
Your mouth just opens and it comes out. Huh? That's amazing. I love it. What is one thing, if you could go back and talk to yourself at the beginning of this journey, you specifically, what would you tell yourself?
When you say this journey, do you mean my journey of life? Do you mean as a financial advisor? Do you mean Moniwell? Because they're all
like about a 20-year-old, 20, 21-year-old, just starting out. Yeah.
I don't know that there would have been anything I could have told myself to convince myself that I could be what I'm doing now. I honestly don't believe, based on where I came from and the experiences I had and where I was in my life at that moment with chaos and family things and just a lot of stuff. I don't think you could have told me anything. And that's not kids are stubborn. That's just I was so embedded in the life and the world that I came from and the family and the things, the dynamics. I don't think you could have told me anything to make me truly believe that I could do those things. Fun fact, I innately had a performance streak in me. I was actually very successful in high school. So I had this ability to make people laugh or be dynamic or whatever, right? I think I tamped that down for a really long time, by the way. So I sang at 2 high school graduations. It was a small school in the middle of Texas. I was most likely to succeed and best all around and Miss WHS and all those things. But I still left thinking I can't. There's, and it's a part of me. It's like, I told myself, I was like, you should go try acting. You should go try singing. You should try doing all of those things. People loved it. You got this energy off of it. And I was like, no, I can't. I'll fail. Right. So I didn't even do that. Like there were lots of avenues I could go down. I had lots of, obviously everybody believed I could, but I didn't. Right. And I don't think somebody could have come to me or I could have read a book that said, you got this. You believe in yourself.
You just had to go through the experiences and learn through
I had to live life and get to a point, wish it had happened sooner. But again, I feel like everything happens. And, if I'd done that, I wouldn't have met my husband. I wouldn't have had the 2 amazing kids I have because it wouldn't have been that guy that created those 2 people. You know what I mean? So everything happens. And maybe I wouldn't have had kids although I think I was always like, I need kids. I want kids. So now I'm like, I tell my 2 kids, they're 2 boys. And I'm like, when you bring in me grandkids? And they're like, what? We're like 21 and 23. And I was like, I know, but still, I'm ready for that again. Right. Anyway. So yeah.
What scared you the most when you first started out on your journey or, at some point during it? And does it still scare you or did you find a way to get through that?
It scares me. I guess this is what they call imposter syndrome. It scares me that still to this day, that no matter how much confidence I have, that somebody is going to tap me on the shoulder and be like, hey, you don't belong here. And we see you, right? We see you. And I feel like now I have enough confidence to go, I don't know what you're talking about. Go away, shoo fly, right? But it's that sort of belief in yourself, I guess.
And so how do you combat that? Like, how do you get past it?
Right now, I ignore it. I just go, now I will tell you, so let's just be real here. I spend, I have my fair share of crying in my pillow and trying not to let the people around me see it because they're depending on me. They're depending on me to keep my, sorry, I'm going to say it, together. Right. So I still do that. And sometimes it's cathartic and sometimes it's exhausting. And people are like, well, you need to take a break. And I'm like, yeah, but if I spend too much time thinking about that, then it gets me off track. Right. So yeah, you got to do it every once in a while, but I try not to, because once I do that, it kind of throws me off the rail for a while. I don't need any epiphanies right now. I don't need any of those things. I just need to keep laser focused. Right.
Working hard.
So working hard, but the more you do that, the less I'm one of those people that, like, I wake up every morning and there's some piece of the puzzle that comes to me. It's like my little creative brain. What I used to call them brain sparkles. I'd text the people that were helping me. I'd be like, do you want to hear my brain sparkle this morning? They'd be like, oh my God, what? You can't get distracted by that. I didn't say I was going to go down that hole. I just said, it's my brain sparkle. I had to tell somebody, right? Yeah. So sometimes they just come to me. So mornings are really good. I get up and I'm like, ooh, and I go get that thought down. But I try not to, at the end of the day, when I'm really tired, that's when the other stuff's to creep in, right? I'm like, I'm going to try to relax. I try, not meditation. I'm too ADHD for meditation. I got into some like chanting type meditations at one point because even that for me needs to be active. Like I need to be holding a pose and I need to be chanting and I need to, if I'm going to get there, I've kind of let that fall off of the wayside. Plus, I think it was more like a cult. Kundalini was more of a cult. I didn't even know it was a cult until that Netflix show came out. I was like, oh my God, it was a cult. It kind of felt like a cult, but it felt really good. I loved it. And I didn't know anybody and I just went, right? And I was like, this is amazing. But when they started showing somebody we were supposed to all like bow to, I was like, okay, peace out. I'm out of it.
Maybe not.
I'm going to do the chanting thing on my own. How's that?
Oh, God. I love that. So what about, Jennifer, did you face any unique challenges because you were a woman through this journey?
Well, we kind of covered a few of them. One is the initial part of my journey, just this smartest guy in the room sort of scenario that initially didn't offend me. I believed it, right? Was he smart? Yes. Was he smarter than me than a lot of things? Yes. But being in that dynamic, as I got more educated and better at what I was doing, that dynamic never changed. So that's one thing. I'm going off the rails here. That's one thing that I think is really important for women to understand is that, at least in my case, I was at that company for 20 years with working for that person. And I like to describe it like this. You are to somebody who you were when you walked into their life. So it didn't matter how much I evolved. In his mind, I was always that executive assistant. He wouldn't say that, but that's how it felt. It's like there was this undercurrent of he couldn't get past that dynamic, right? I think that's true of a lot of interpersonal connections, et cetera. So there was that. And then now I get told, don't bring up that getting investment and being a woman, because then and I get told that, but I also kind of believe it. I'm like, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about how, 2% get, funding and all this blah, 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 blah. This is an amazing idea. That's not going to matter. That's what I tell myself. That's not going to matter. The right investor is going to see this and be like, I can't even see that Jennifer is a woman. Because with the idea is that good. So that's always what I do, is I'm always forward facing going, I'm going to present this and keep evolving and iterating so that they can't even notice that they're talking to a woman. My voice a little, whatever. I don't know. Put my hair up. I don't know. So I think that is the part. I'm sure there is an undercurrent to that. It's a little bit of a lot of things, right? Partially woman, partially no successful exit. I haven't proven myself and I haven't really done anything. My RIA isn't that successful. Well, it's not successful because lots of reasons. I went and did this thing instead. Anyway, I think being a woman is affecting that, but I wouldn't use that. I don't use that as a crutch.
Yeah.
I basically say, okay, yeah. But I tell people all the time, the way my mind works is when one of those people rejects it early. Now, early on, the people that rejected it, okay, there wasn't, it was just an idea, right? It was this little pitch deck. And now we have a full blown product. And so all I think is, okay, I keep iterating. I keep moving forward. We're bootstrapped. I keep moving forward. So the next time you hear about us and want to invest, you're getting less of the company for that. So I'm sure you're going to regret that. You probably won't tell me you regret it, but you know what I mean? Like, that's what I tell myself. I don't say those things. And I just know in my heart that that's what will happen. That some of the people that said no in the beginning, when this thing becomes what I think it can become, people are going to be like, it's like going back and say, oh my God, people are going to be like, Jennifer's really comparing herself to like Apple or Amazon, maybe. So it's like those people that had a chance to buy before it was even IPO, right? Before it was even those people, that first investor in Steve Jobs, right?
Yeah.
That person just saw it and said, here's $100,000. I don't know why I'm investing in you. The people that haven't done that were going to be thinking they wish they had just done that, because there were a few people early in that were like friends that were like, I need to throw some money at you. I don't have a lot. Those people are going to be the ones that get to say,
I
I
got in on the ground floor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
See how I am like the most ridiculously confident person I know now. And this isn't a put on. This is actually what I tell myself and how I wake up each morning. But then let's go back to the crying moments. There are still the moments. Those moments do not creep in as, what have I done? They now creep in as, I don't know why this has to be so hard, right? And I can't give up, because that would hurt more than continuing to just put myself through this. Such a sad story.
Well, entrepreneurship is hard. It just is. I mean, like at base, it really is difficult. And your journey is not a lot different than a lot of other people's journeys who've started this entrepreneurship experience. And it just
helps.
it takes a lot. It takes a lot of self-confidence and drive and work and tears in the pillow at night to try and make a success of it. So one of these days you're going to look back and be like, yeah, you guys really wish you would have gotten in way back when.
Yeah. I won't say it. I won't need to.
It will be obvious. Yeah. Jennifer, what is the thing you are most proud of?
My boys. I know that seems cliche. You just talked about all of this stuff and you're going to say raising your boys. So I haven't done it all right, like at all. When it comes, maybe actually raising my boys, yes, but the financial part, not at all. Like, I have been nobody's like shining example of how they should, do their life, right? Or especially financially. But I always wanted to give my boys a life that I didn't have, right? And by that, I don't mean necessarily financial, but just, again, the things that I grew up in and the chaos and all I wanted was it to be just as normal as possible, right? And I'm not saying normal's different for everybody. Stable. That's what I wanted to give them, was stable. And, middle class, small little neighborhood, 1950s neighborhood in San Diego is where I landed. My kids were a half mile from their elementary school, a half mile from their middle school, stayed in the same house basically their entire childhood. I never had that. And that's almost all I wanted to give them. And they look back on it and they're like, so they don't understand how powerful that was. And maybe it wouldn't have made a difference for them. But for me, that's what I wanted to give them. And turns out I now can look at them and go, maybe some of the struggles were good, some of the things that we had to go through, and being able to just give them a stable life where I respected them, where I gave them the things, not financial, but the things that I didn't feel like I got just doing those things. I can now see it reflected back to me in these very confident, self-assured little people that I can be like, I did that. My husband had help. He helped too. But you know what I mean? But I picked him. I'm just saying. I picked him. So it's still sort of me, right?
Yeah.
Like creating this life, like that was all my focus was in my early 20s or my early to mid 20s was I just want to get married and have kids, right? And so when I finally did that at like late in life, like 30, I feel really good that I brought up two individuals that I can be proud of and, in the ways that they're going about life and being adults.
Yeah, I like that. I love that. Any advice for a young lady who's just starting kind of down this path that you're already at the end of and so successful at? Not at the end, you're further down the path.
I was raising my eyebrows at the successful
part. But any advice for her to help her get where you're at today?
Find people, surround yourself with environments when you can. We're not talking any particular level of measure, meaning even if you're working at McDonald's, try to find a boss, try to find that person in that environment that lifts you up, right? That sees you for you, is okay with who you are as a person and wants to help you grow to be whatever it is you are capable of. Not some put it up on a pedestal. You can be rich and you can own a house and you can be, maybe it isn't that for you, right? So it's like you need to surround yourself around people that see you, that you can be open with who you are, that aren't projecting in what you should be. The shoulda, coulda, wouldas, I would say. Because I think people can be happy and content without all of those things that people tend to say you should do this, or it's really important that you do these things. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. People can be happy with different things. People can feel successful with taking different avenues in life. So surrounding yourself with an environment or people that you find, maybe it's friends, maybe it's just a networking group, maybe it's whatever, that can see you for who you are and help you develop that, not the thing that people are telling you should do or the things that might be possible. Because some people are very content with just basic things, and that is okay.
Yeah. I like that. I like that the idea of looking around for people who see who you are and want to help you become that. And sometimes you need those positive voices kind of lifting you up to say, hey, have you thought maybe you could do this? Or have you thought maybe you could, grow in this way? That's something that is so you and feels so right, but maybe you hadn't thought of.
Right. And little paths. So find people that could interject ideas, not you need to do this, but hey, I was thinking about this when I heard about, what do you think about that? Funny little, my youngest story. He's 21 now. He hated school. He is also, he's challenged with not liking school for different reasons. And my oldest is an electrical engineer. So he went through that path, right? And Michael, my youngest, was like, I don't know what I want to do. And I was like, well, don't go to college then. There's other things you could do. And he was like, I just want to help people. And I was like, well, remember when you were 7 and you said you wanted to be a surgeon and your brother laughed at you because it included school and you hate school? I was like, there's other paths. And so I was like, I had this surgery and the surgeon said that there's this surgical tech thing. And it's like 18 months of school and then you're out. And then he did that and he's doing what he loves in a surgery situation, right? And now he's like, maybe I'll go to nursing school. Maybe I'll do this. Maybe I'll do that. But if he doesn't, guess what? He's in a career that he loves. He enjoys. He still lives at home because I told him he couldn't until he finishes school, wants to go to nursing school, etc.
Yeah.
And he said, he'll come home and be like, we did this today. And they cut somebody open. That's the best part. And he's like, I want to be a trauma surgeon, or I want to be he's learning what he wants to be. And it's all rooted in, he was the one that said, I don't want to help rich people get richer. And he literally says, he works at a hospital that's a county hospital. He doesn't necessarily want to work at some fancy hospital where they pay him a whole bunch. He wants to help the people that nobody else wants to do in a very non-exciting place, like trauma and people that don't have the insurance to pay. Like that's literally what and so by encouraging that, he's now happy, right?
Yeah.
Because I didn't say you should go be a nurse because get that degree. I left it open to him and I listened to what he was saying, right? Which is, I hate school. And I was like, well, you're going to have to do something. And once he got past my mother said I should be a surgical tech, he came to me after about a year of community college where he withdrew from every single class and was playing volleyball. And he said, remember that surgical tech? Can we go look into that? You know what I mean? So it took him a second. So back to the young girl. So having somebody hear that, or if you are a mentor, think about it this way. And encourage them to start thinking about the things they love and start to help them mold what that could look like and start throwing out in all of your wisdom, hey, I heard about this and maybe that's it. But keep your mind open to how not every one of them that you're mentoring is going to go to 4-year school or get a PhD or do whatever, right? That you can mentor people in a different way and they can end up doing something that is fulfilling, that they love without having to do it the way maybe you thought it should be.
There's so many possibilities open out there. I really resonate with that idea that, I have 5 kids of my own and they've all gone different directions and done different things. And some of them are doing things that I wouldn't have thought they would be doing. Yeah. And others are like, they were right straight down the path I figured they were on, so it really is. There's a lot of possibilities out there and find people that see those possibilities in you. I love that. Thank you, Jennifer, so much for your time today and for sharing your experience and your journey. If I have a young listener who wants to get in touch with you, how do they get a hold of you?
I guess the best way is you can just email me. It's JDR, as in Jennifer Dawn Rayner, at Moniwell.com. That's MONIWELL.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.